We are back on SportsLine, joined the entire hour by our very special guest, a good friend of ours, Mike Keith, voice of the Tennessee Titans. You having fun so far? It's been a blast having you in studio talking some football.
It's game week, Jon Burton.
Man.
It is game week.
I'm trying to get everybody fired up.
I don't think they need much help. I think
we should be banked with phone calls right now from Titans fans. I mean, it's cool because you and I are just kicking it, talking a little football, just a couple buddies talking football. But, we should be banked with phone calls right now. Don't you have a question? This guy's the voice of the Tennessee Titans, Nashville. Give us a call, 615-737-7767. All right, defense. Dick LeBeau, a guy that I'm very familiar with from my years working in Pittsburgh covering the Steelers, leaves Pittsburgh. Now he's the assistant head coach in charge of defense. Ray Horton is still the defensive coordinator, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Those two have worked together.
Forever.
And it's been a great system.
Right.
Won a lot of games in Pittsburgh. Talking to a lot of the defensive players, they've all said the same thing. He's preached communication.
Right.
We communicate a lot better now, and he harps on that relentlessly. And you know what? When you look at this defense, you look at the defensive line with guys like Al Woods and the linebackers with Arakpo and Morgan on the outside, and of course Sammy Hill, who's coming back off PUP, and of course Jarrell Casey, who we all love, just great guy, great player. This defense is passing the eye test. We got Denoris Searcy. Looks like he might be the starting safety alongside Griff. We got Parrish Cox at one corner opposite Jason McCourty, who I know is a little banged up. When this defense is put together, knowing what Dick LeBeau can do, they pass the eye test right now. I don't know how it's going to translate on the field, but I like what I see.
The thing that I like about this defense is it's the second year in the 3-4. And historically, Pittsburgh defenses under Dick LeBeau have not been young. And the Titans are not young. Yep. And you're sitting here going, no, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Well, let's go through the secondary. McCourty, Searcy, Griffin, Cox. None of them young. Arakpo, Morgan, Zach Brown. Up front, Casey, Sammy Lee Hill. The only two young guys are second-year players, Avery Williamson and Daquan Jones. So you have a lot of experience, and when you talk about that communication, John, I think one of the most important things is older players, experienced players, can rely on recognition. They're going to be able to say, okay, this is what I'm seeing. Let's be in the right place. Let's take advantage when we see these keys. I think a group of players with experience can play this defense and can be successful in it, particularly because they had last year to learn it. And then you look at the defensive staff. Louis Chofie in the secondary, Nick Eason up front, Giff Smith up front, Lou Spanos with the linebackers. Everybody goes together. We mentioned that Horton and LeBeau have been together. They all have ties together. They've worked together, or they've worked for people who run the same system. I think there's great continuity right there. I'm like you. I'm most certain about the defense's progress overall right now of the two sides of the ball. I think they're going to be significantly better. All right,
we got to get some calls. We have some calls lined up. But before we do that, I want to ask you about Wesley Woodyard.
Okay.
Depth chart came out this week. All teams before their first preseason game have to come out with a depth chart. Wesley Woodyard listed as starting inside linebacker next to Avery Williamson. Although Zach Brown, I've seen, take the majority of the reps with the ones. Assuming Zach Brown's the starter, where does this leave Wesley Woodyard, a guy that they picked up as a free agent a couple of years ago? Can you justify paying this guy his salary and just have him be a sub-package guy and run down on kickoffs? I mean, or is he a part of this? Is he a factor?
That'll be a decision to be made in terms of the salary, because they'll evaluate.
I'm asking you like you're the GM.
Well, no, but I mean,
Rustin Webster joining us here on SportsLine.
Well, the part of it that's nice is the Titans salary cap-wise have no problem. So if they decide they want to pay him and he's a backup, they can do it.
Yeah.
They have that ability. If they decide that's not the direction they want to go because he's not a starter, well, that's a different argument. But they can. Yeah, I mean, absolutely they can. Will they is probably a different question. What I like about Woodyard is he can play either spot.
Right.
And because he can play either inside spot, he gives you quality depth to go through the preseason. He'll get his reps. He'll be in there. In essence, you've got a third starter.
Right.
The guy who led you in tackles last year.
Yeah.
You have a third starter in Wesley Woodyard. And so I think you feel good about that kind of veteran depth at that spot.
All right, let's burn through some calls, shall we?
Go.
Cliff, you're on with Mike Keith. Go.
Hey, how's it going, gentlemen?
Cliff?
What's up, man? What's on your mind?
Well, I've been reading a little bit about this guy named Cody Riggs, but I don't know nothing about him. I'd like to hear y'all's insight on where he would be playing and how well he's been doing. And also, I ain't heard nothing about Searcy, so I'd like to hear about him too, if you got a minute.
You got it. Thanks for the call.
Cody Riggs is a cornerback who comes from Notre Dame. He played 4 years at Florida, went to Notre Dame as a fifth-year graduate so he could play the corner position. Had a little injury problem late in the year, tried to play with an injured foot, didn't get drafted. Not a big guy, but this guy keeps showing up. He had another pick today in practice.
Not off Mariota, though.
Not off Mariota. Mariota's streak at 186. But Riggs had another pick and continues to really make things happen. He's one of the Titans to watch in preseason. Keep an eye on number 37. Denoris Searcy is a fifth-year safety out of North Carolina. He played the last 4 years for the Buffalo Bills. Last year, full-time starter, really effective player, particularly covering tight ends. One of the better pass cover safeties in the league, and he gives them more speed and more of an interchangeable option with Michael Griffin. Griffin was always the free, and the other guy was always the strong,
right.
And now you can flip-flop them. Essentially, they're both just safeties. It gives that Titans unit more speed and more ability potentially to go after the quarterback, do a lot of things Dick LeBeau likes to do.
Yeah, I like what I see out of him. All right, we got Daniel on line 3. Daniel, you're on with Mike Keith. Go.
Hey, fellas. Thanks for taking the call.
Sure.
Hi, Daniel.
Real quick, just curious, Mike, what is your favorite call minus the Music City Miracle that you've made for the Titans? And then for both of you, what is your favorite call ever that you've just heard? And I'll hang up and appreciate you, both of y'all's work. Y'all do a great job.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the call.
Al Michaels, do you believe in miracles?
Yeah.
I think that's
I think that's got to be mine too.
It's got, I mean, for the historical significance, because of where we were as a country in 1980,
Yes.
and to beat the Russians at that moment was, I don't know that much about hockey.
Right.
I knew even less when I was 12 years old, but that was
and I was around 10, and so I became the biggest hockey fan for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just such an incredible story, and it happened just a few hours from where I grew up in Lake Placid, New York. And you go to Lake Placid, you walk through the village, and you wonder how they held an Olympics there. It's so small.
Awesome.
It's amazing. All right, we got time for one more phone call this segment. Steve, you got about 20 seconds. Go.
I would thank you guys for the phone call.
Absolutely.
Really worried about the coach. What is the rating of the coach? Because he has all the ingredients. I'm picking him to go 10-6 at least and make the playoffs this year.
Good for you.
But it's up to the coach.
All right, thanks for the call.
His coaching staff and himself, as far as making the right plays and making this a winning team.
We got you. Thanks for the call. You got about 20 seconds.
I think Coach Wisenhunt is in a really good place. I think he and this staff are enjoying coaching this team. They have coaching continuity from last year.
He seems a lot more relaxed this year.
I think
Would you say
the whole setup is he's not new.
Yep.
The staff's not new. They're not having to change everything like they did before. I think it's all in a really good place. Ken Wisenhunt's a smart guy. He's a good football coach, and I think you'll see that more in terms of the results this year.
We'll come back and wrap up the show with the voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, right after this.